evening and welcome. It is time once again for CU Immigration here on WRFU LP, Urbana 104.5 FM. I will be your host for this evening. My name is Mr. Garza, and I am here to let you know that WRFU is an open forum for the Urbana-Champaign community. Views expressed are those of the speakers and are not intended to represent WRFU, UCIMC, Urbana Socialist Forum, or, as we like to say on the televised version of this show, UPTV. These views are our own, and by our, in this instance, once again, I mean just myself and or anyone whose opinion I happen to be reading about in one of these news articles that I read when I do the show by myself. There are opinions embodied in these pieces, and they are, they're evident to you if you're listening. So I'm not necessarily agreeing with everything that I read, but I read it because it contains information that I think is useful to you or is relevant to a topic that I have chosen to talk about. The topic, of course, is immigration, as you might imagine. That is what we talk about here on the show, generally speaking. There have been times when we veer off of that a little bit. Often when I have guests, the guests will veer off immigration, but that's okay because, we like to talk about the whole person, not just their nationality or immigration status. That's not the only thing about a person that's interesting to us. And so we like to include a little bit of everything. And hopefully, now that it's August, is it August? No, now that it's almost August, tomorrow it will be August, that means soon the semester will begin. Not that soon, probably at the end of the month. And at that time, students will come back, and I will suddenly have a whole variety of people to come and bring in here and interview. That's what I'm hoping, because I've sort of used up everybody I know here who lives here in town. And it's hard to get them, like, come on down and do the radio show. And they're like, I've done that. I don't need to do it again. So, it's the struggle of the host to get good guests in here. But when I don't have good guests in here, I hope that the news will be a good guest. Does that make sense? I hope that the news will be a good. Well, anyway, I hope that there is something of value still in this show, even when I don't have good guests in here saying good things. I'm starting to sound like a certain Trump. The greatest guests, we have the greatest interviews, they have the greatest things to say. Whatever. So, obviously, the news of the day, at least the news that caught my attention today, our old friend Joe Arpaio. Remember him? Yeah, I bet you do. I'm going to start out reading about him. This is an in-depth story according to its description, so hopefully it will give us, I won't have to give you any background myself. You'll get the background from the story. So the title of this story from ABC News is "Defiance That Once Benefited Joe Arpaio Led to His Downfall." Oh yes, delicious schadenfreude here. And it would be if I could get the page to move, but it's not moving. Come on. You can do it. There we go. All right. I made it a little bit. I've got 2 lines that I can read. Oh, no. What's going on here? Go away. Yeah, this is one of those pages that tries to play you a video, and I don't know how to get it to go away. Okay. I think I got it to go away. Oh, here we go. Almost there. Sorry, I apologize. I need a new computer. I know this. I will eventually get one. At the moment, I don't have one. All right. Yeah, no, it's just creeping back up here. All right, I'm going to begin, and maybe if I read slowly, I can keep pace with the slow speed of this computer. The political defiance that made Joe Arpaio popular as Metro Phoenix's sheriff for 24 years ultimately did him in Monday when he was found guilty of a crime of ignoring a judge's order to stop his traffic patrols that targeted immigrants. The TV interviews and news releases that the media-savvy lawman used over the years to promote his immigration crackdown came back to bite him when the judge who convicted him cited comments the sheriff made about continuing his patrols even though he knew he was barred from launching them. Not only did defendant abdicate responsibility, he announced to the world and to his subordinates that he was going to continue business as usual. I'm stuck again. There we go. What happened? Did I go too far? Oh, yeah, okay, here we go. Sorry. I'm sorry. Really, if you were here and you were looking over my shoulder, you'd be like, what's up with this computer? It won't scroll. It just sits there and then it jumps. So anyway, sorry. I'm, bad carpenter blames his tools is the old saying, but honestly, I'm just trying to read something and I can't read it if I can't see it. So, okay. Not only did defend it. This is the judge speaking. Not speaking. This is the judge writing. Maybe I should say it like a judge. Not only did defendant abdicate responsibility, he announced to the world and to his subordinates that he was going to continue business as usual no matter who said otherwise, wrote U.S. District Judge Susan Bolton. The 85-year-old is scheduled to be sentenced on October 5th on his misdemeanor conviction for contempt of court, which carries a jail sentence of up to 6 months in jail. Attorneys who have followed the case doubt someone his age would be incarcerated. It's almost too bad. The verdict marked a final rebuke for a politician who once drew strong popularity from such crackdowns, but was booted from office last year as voters became frustrated over his deepening legal troubles and headline-grabbing tactics, such as jailing inmates in tents during triple-degree summer heat and making them wear pink underwear. Critics said the verdict was a long-awaited comeuppance for lawman who had managed to escape accountability through much of his 6 terms. Prosecutors say Arpaio violated the order so he could promote his immigration enforcement efforts in an effort to boost his 2012 re-election campaign. Lydia Guzman, a Latino civil rights advocate and longtime Arpaio critic, said the lawman was partly responsible for Arizona's reputation as a place that's inhospitable to immigrants. He is the one who led the rally against immigrants, and the legislators followed suit, Guzman said, noting the state's landmark 2010 immigration law. I hope a lot of this is erased and that Arizona can go back to being a normal state. I don't know when that will be. Okay, come on. Just a little farther down the page. And now I have to find where that was. This is so weird. It's just like nothing, and then it jumps. Okay, I'm going to hope that I'm in the right spot. Arpaio was barred in December 2011 from conducting immigration patrols by a federal judge who was presiding over a racial profiling case. The sheriff had acknowledged prolonging his patrols but insisted it was not intentional. He also blamed one of his former attorneys in a racial profiling case for not properly explaining the importance of the court order. Bolton rejected all Arpaio's key arguments, saying it was clear he knew of the order but still chose to continue the patrols. She said an attorney had clearly informed him of the order, and a top aide also read a portion of it aloud to Arpaio during a staff meeting. Arpaio, when reached by the Associated Press, said he didn't have an immediate comment on the verdict. His lawyers said they will appeal the verdict, contending their client's legal fate should have been decided by a jury, not a judge. They also said Bolton violated Arpaio's rights by not reading the decision in court. Quote, her verdict is contrary to what every single witness testified in the case, his lawyer said in a statement. Arpaio believes that a jury would have found in his favor, and that it will. His defense focused on what his attorneys said were weaknesses in the court order that failed to acknowledge times when deputies would detain immigrants and later hand them over to federal authorities. Unlike other local police leaders who left immigration enforcement to U.S. authorities, Arpaio made hundreds of arrests and traffic patrols that sought out immigrants and business raids in which his officers targeted immigrants who used fraudulent IDs to get jobs. The efforts are similar to local immigration enforcement that President Donald Trump has advocated. To build his highly touted deportation force, Trump is reviving a long-standing program that deputizes local officers to enforce federal immigration law. Arpaio's immigration powers were eventually stripped away by the courts and federal government. The contempt of court case marked the first time federal authorities had prosecuted Arpaio on a criminal charge, though his office had been the subject of past investigations. Federal authorities had looked into Arpaio's misspending of $100 million in jail funds and his criminal investigations of political enemies. Neither investigation led to prosecution of the sheriff or his employees. Arpaio's criminal charges are believed to have contributed heavily to his crushing defeat in November to little-known retired Phoenix Police Sergeant Paul Penzone. Arpaio was ousted in the same election that sent Trump to the White House. Trump used some of the same immigration rhetoric that helped make Arpaio a national figure in the debate over the U.S.-Mexico border. Cecilia Wang, an attorney who helped press the profiling case against Arpaio, said the lawman's legal fate is a cautionary tale for police bosses who want to get into immigration enforcement. What was a lark to him in going after undocumented immigrants was terrible, not only for the people he hurt, but also for his own agency and his career, Wang said. His career will go down as ending with his conviction. So in many ways, that's kind of the big news of the day, at least in terms of immigration, because that's, you know, someone, I mean, what, 24 years? Is that what they said? This guy has been around forever, it seems like. And he has long been a huge spokesman of the anti-immigrant ideology, the anti-immigrant attitude, the way of thinking, and also this sort of scofflaw, if I can call it that, this sort of attitude that the laws don't apply to me because I am, you know, I am so justified in my conviction. I so firmly believe in the rightness of my cause that it doesn't matter what the law says. It doesn't matter what I'm supposed to do or not supposed to do. I'm going to do this because I feel it's right, or it's, you know, it seems right to me. That sort of almost across the board seems to be an attitude that a lot of these people, Trump himself, obviously, as we've seen from many different episodes, has this sense that, you know, what I want to do is right, and so I'll do it, you know, as if I can get away with it, basically. And that was sort of Arpaio's attitude, was like, hey, my beliefs are correct, and so it doesn't matter what the court says, what the law says, what anybody says, you know, this is what I'm going to do. And obviously fans of people like that, people who hold the same beliefs, are often really excited by that thing. It's like, oh, good, finally, you know, the righteousness of my beliefs are held by somebody with the power to do something about them, you know. And they kind of forget that a lot of times that power is supposed to be tempered by restrictions, by guidelines, by all sorts of things. They don't seem to care about that. They're just happy that finally somebody who can do it is doing it. And that's unfortunate, and it's a cautionary tale, I think, for all of us in terms of, you know, when we really feel we're right. I really believe I'm right, but I can remember back when people were urging Obama to do this and Obama to do that, and they were saying, he has the power to do this, he should just do it. and they seem to be ignoring the limits of that power, or the appropriateness of using that power in that way, and they were angry at him for not just making blanket, statements and executive orders. All immigrants are welcome, and all convictions are overturned, and all this stuff, and it was just like, hold on there, because when the shoe is on the other foot, as it was with Arpaio, they were furious about what he was doing. And so you have to understand, even though there is a lot wrong with our legal system and the way that it is employed, it's still better than nothing at all. You have to have some sort of system. When you have people living in society together, there has to be some kind of systematic way that they go about dealing with each other. And I am in no way saying that you should just roll over and accept the laws as they are. I think many of them need to be changed. I think all our systems need to be changed and improved in all sorts of ways. I'm merely saying that change and improve, not just ripped out and thrown away, because that leads to the kind of behavior that we're seeing here with this guy and with the current administration of just, steamrollering. Yeah, that's a term, isn't it? Steamrolling, whatever, rolling over all objections and just, forging ahead towards where they want to go, regardless of what anyone else thinks. That's what the House and the Senate were doing with the health care bill. Everybody was saying, no, don't do this. Take more time, do it right, do something different. And they were just like, no, we're going to do it because we can. And they almost got there. I mean, it was very close to destroying insurance support for everybody, for a lot of people. We're going to lose their insurance support based on that kind of attitude of, we can do it, so we will do it, regardless of what anyone says. So it's important. It's always, you get a lot of pushback from people who say, no, we need to, we know we're right, so we should just force our rightness on others. When you tell them, no, you've got to wait, you've got to do it step by step, they don't like to hear that. But at the same time, when someone else is doing that, we know we're right and we're going to enforce our beliefs on others, they're outraged. So it's kind of hypocritical, actually, to feel like you should be able to just force your way on the world because you believe in it so much, but no one else is supposed to be able to do that. That doesn't make sense. So it's important. I mean, I'm obviously a big supporter of immigrants, and I think we should be welcoming people here. I think the people who are here should be legalized, or at least able to come out of the shadows, and some process should be available to them for formalizing their relationship to the country or to the places that they live. I firmly believe that, but I'm not going to try to force that on anybody. It has to happen in a way that makes the people who lose know that they were given an opportunity. It's hard to explain what I mean by that, but what causes revolution basically is when people feel that they were never heard, that their point of view was never considered, that their beliefs were never respected. And so the system has to work in ways that lead to outcomes where everyone at least knows, all right, this was the choice, this is what people wanted, this is what the way things are going, and I guess I'm out of step with everyone else because I believe differently, but everyone feels this other way. There has to be some sense of that in order for people to admit defeat, I guess. You don't admit defeat when you feel like you never had a chance in the first place. And that's what's always wrong when you try to ram your opinions in down somebody's throat, I guess. I don't know. I'm sort of just speaking off the top of my head here because I see, it's like a mirror. When you see something like this and you go, wow, that's just so wrong what he was doing. And then you think about times that you've wanted to like force your opinion out there and realize, okay, well, that's not right either. So I'm not sure what I'm advocating here. I'm not advocating that people just sit back and go, oh, well, we'll just, let the system operate. No, let's change the system. Let's make it right so that when it does operate, we can believe in its operation and the results of its operation. But don't destroy the system unless you're really, really, really sure you've got a better one ready to go to stick in its place. And I just don't see that most people who want to destroy the system have that. They seem to have an ideal that they prefer, but they don't have a way that, a way of figuring out how they're going to just replace the current system. The current system is terrible in all sorts of ways, but it is the system that we have, and it is a system that has worked for a while, so it has the ability to work, and it has the confidence of enough people and the support of enough people to work, and we just need to find ways to change it. We need to get the people in there to make the decisions that will improve it to the point where it's working for everybody, not just for, members of the dominant culture, which is basically the only people that it works for. Anyway, I'm just going on and on because I feel like I haven't really adequately expressed what I'm trying to say here. But, sometimes you don't have a clear idea of what you're trying to say, so you just keep talking and hope that something's going to come out that's going to convince you that you've got a point, as well as other people who are listening. And in this case, if you're listening to me, you're probably going, what are you getting at here? So I don't know. All my anarchist friends are going to be like frustrated and go, no, you're crazy. You're wrong. That's wrong. And I'm like, okay, yeah, it's wrong. I'm not entirely right, but I'm getting towards an idea here, and maybe someday I'll figure it out, and then I'll come back and try it again. So where was I? Oh, I guess we're about halfway through the show. I should tell you, you're listening to CU Immigration here on WRFU-LP Urbana 104.5 FM. I'm your host, Mr. Garza. I don't know why I call myself that, but I do. And I'm talking about immigration. I was talking about the rule of law and society there for a while, and hopefully trying to make the point that if we're going to live together as an organized society, we have to have rules that we all function by. And we have to figure out what those rules are so that they are fair to everyone, equitable, and just. And every now and then, as we see with Mr. Arpaio, some small progress is made towards that goal. In this case, I think it's very unfortunate that what he's convicted of is disrespect to the court rather than disrespect to the people that he's supposed to be representing. I think that's really sad that what it takes to get him, what it took to get him, is not what he was doing to people all this time, but that the court told him to stop and he wouldn't. That's the old, respect my authority thing that I think is just, it's kind of pathetic that that's what it takes to get somebody like that, is contempt of court rather than contempt of society, contempt of his constituents, contempt of the people that he is supposed to protect and serve. But, it's a small thing. It's at least the end result is it's kind of like getting Al Capone for tax evasion. You at least got him for something, and he's off the streets. I don't know, as the article said, I don't know if Arpaio's actually going to go to jail, but it would be sort of interesting for him to have to wear pink underwear and sleep outside in a tent, because he certainly didn't worry about the age of any of the people he was picking up when he did that to them. So I don't know why they should worry about it for him, but I assume they probably will. So anyway, let's leave Arpaio behind in history where he belongs, as a cautionary tale to all of us of hubris and thinking that you're right and doing what you want regardless of what anyone else says. And move on. We have a few other articles here. Not sure which one to read. I guess I'll read this one because this is sort of problematic. It's entitled, "Trump Administration Reaches Deal with Texas Counties on Immigration." So this is kind of bad news. Prepare yourself to grit your teeth and be angry. And it goes as follows. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, otherwise known as ICE, reached what is known as a 287G agreement with the counties. The deal trains local agents in the sheriff's offices to check if the people they have in custody may be in violation of U.S. immigration law. The program has been on the books since 1996 and allows the Department of Homeland Security to enter into formal written agreements with state and local police departments for officers to perform some of the functions of federal immigration enforcement officials. Quote, "There's no doubt that arresting removable aliens in a jail is safer for the officers, safer for the community, and even safer for the alien himself." Think about that. Acting ICE Director Tom Homan told a news conference. I kind of doubt everything about what he just said there, but that was his quote. A.J. Louderback, sheriff of Jackson County, told the news conference that his county southwest of Houston joined the program to control criminality. The sheriff of Harris County, the most populous county in the state and home to Houston, dropped out of the program earlier this year, saying it cost his office too much in terms of manpower and money. Many of the 18 counties, which have a total population of about 1.5 million, are near Harris County. Texas has a population of about 28 million. The new agreement in Texas is for jails, but a task force model of the program has been used to allow police on patrol to check on people's immigration status. Civil rights groups contend the method promotes illegal racial profiling. You think so? Former President Barack Obama's administration wound down the task force model, and only 6 new agreements were added between 2012 and 2016, according to ICE, part of Homeland Security. With the addition of the 18 programs in Texas, ICE now has 60 active 287G agreements, nearly double the number of programs that were active in 2016. The mandate to expand the program was outlined in an executive order on immigration enforcement signed just days after Trump took office in January. Well, this is echoes of secure communities, of the PEP program and all those different things.